Hi, welcome to a recording for Make Your Mark. I'm going to be taking you through all the basic kind of functionality within the Make Your Mark system, showing you how to kind of create opportunities or register and create opportunities, etc. So this is a volunteer management system built on a product called TeamKinetic, which is who I work for. Make Your Mark allows lots of people to create organizations to create opportunities and advertise them to a very large volunteer cohort. So essentially the way it works with users, we have administrators who work for Make Your Mark, and then we have providers. These are people who are providing opportunities, and then we have volunteers. And those volunteers, create opportunities. The volunteers join the opportunities. Okay, so I'm going to start off by quickly taking you through the registration process. So this is okay. So I'm just going to switch on the screen share. Okay, so this is the front page of your system. So what you need to do is, as a provider, you need to click on the Need Volunteers, add your opportunities, which takes you to the provider registration page. So you are providers, obviously. Organization name. Okay. That phone number. We've then got the profile web page. So this profile web page, probably the only question you'll kind of raise your eyebrows a bit when you get to it in the registration. Essentially, it's your own mini web page that sits within the system. And it has an image that you add, information about what kind of volunteering opportunities you offer. And then underneath it will list all of your opportunities. So the reason if someone turns up at the library and says, I really like this library, I want to volunteer for your library, Bob, then Bob could send them to the main front page, volunteer.makeyourmark.scot, but it makes more sense that they'd send them through to their own provider profile page, because the volunteers already said that they're interested in opportunities offered by Bob's library. So if I send them to that page, the information they're going to see first and foremost will be opportunities offered by Bob's library. So that the page has its own unique web address, which is that address there, followed by Bob's library. But we're going to come on to that in a bit more detail shortly. We'll then put in a postcode. Okay. Opt into receiving emails. So this is not all emails, this is just bulk emails. It's basically like generic emails that may be sent out by the administrator, which are not specific to you. It's just something you might be interested in. So if Make Your Mark send you an email directly, then you will always receive that email. Okay. If a volunteer joins your opportunities, then you will always receive those emails. Okay. These are like generic emails which are not necessarily important to you. So I'm going to say leave that a yes. Read to the T's and C's, which you can have a look at if you want to, and register. Now, once you're registered, the next thing you'll have to do is you can create your provider profile page, which goes to account, public profile down here. So this is that mini web page just about you. Now, volunteers can also access this provider profile page if they when they're searching for opportunities, they can see who the provider is for each opportunity. And if they click on their provider's name, again, it would take them through to the provider's profile page. So it is important that you do add an image and add some information about yourselves in here. You put a logo in there as well if you wanted to. When you're happy with it, click Save. Okay, it's good. Again, it's showing us what the web address is. That's the full web address there for the provider profile page. I can copy the clipboard as well if I want to. Paste into an email or something like that. This is information about you as a provider. So not specific to any opportunity. This is just generic information about the kind of opportunities that you offer. You can change the kind of font and text in here. You can put images in as well. If you know how to do HTML code, you make it look really fancy by clicking on the source button and playing around with the HTML code there. But most people don't know what HTML is, so it's perfectly fine. Just edit it as you see fit and save that. Okay, so if I click on the preview your profile page now, we can see here we've got our image here. We've got the information that I added in, information about you as a provider, but there's no opportunities yet. obviously, because we haven't created any opportunities yet. So the next thing we need to do is create an opportunity. So if you go to opportunities, down to create opportunity, okay, now this is probably the most important fields that you need to enter. Okay, we need to sound interesting. So when you're thinking about the name, thinking about including the keywords people might search for, and also making them sound whilst making them sound interesting. So if I say librarian, okay, you'd want to expand on it. Obviously, the demo purposes, I'm going to keep this nice and short, but you'd want to really think about this. Don't fall into the trap of rushing it and thinking, well, the faster I get this up and running, the faster I get volunteers. It's worth you spending 10 or 20 minutes thinking about the wording within these sections here and describing the opportunity with enough information that kind of is going to answer their questions without having to phone you up or drop you an email. Okay. Also, you're trying to, with the benefits and perks, they're giving up their free time, so it's nice to put something in there like as much tea as you can consume in a day. Something light-hearted and showing that you appreciate they're giving up their free time. Skills required. If there's no skills required, say there's no skills required. So what you're really trying to do, as part of doing these first 4 fields here, is trying to break down those mental barriers. Quite often I see when you might have an administrative opportunity and people think, oh, I need to know Excel, I need to know Microsoft Access, when they don't. Okay, you might just be ticking a list of names. So if there is no skills required, then make sure you do state that. And try and think about what things might put them off and try and address those issues. Categories, so this is mainly for reporting purposes for the administrators. I don't know what one I'll come under. Librarian would be administration support maybe. And so it's a library. This search tags, this is other words that if someone typed them in, you'd want it to bring up this opportunity. So we've got librarian there. So library, different from librarian. That might be a search word. Admin might be a word. Administrative might be a word. Usually when you start typing, you see suggested searches appear, and if you do, then click on the suggested search and it'll save you typing the rest of the words out. So library, admin, administrative, so if anyone types in these words or any word within the title or your provider name, it will bring up this opportunity. Okay. We've now got, is it accessible? Wheelchair accessibility, yes. Is the opportunity part of a larger event? We're going to come on to this shortly, but an event is a group of opportunities that has something in common. So you might have the Make Your Mark Summer Festival, and they need people setting up equipment, and they need someone meeting and greeting, someone handing out refreshments. These different volunteer opportunities, which might have different start times and end times and require different skills, but they're all part of the same event. So we can link them through to an event, which makes it all together in the same event, which means that volunteers can click on the event and it will show them all them opportunities that are part of that event, which makes it easier for them. Because quite often volunteers want to be part of the event. They don't really mind what they're doing. Okay, but I'll come on to creating an event shortly. This opportunity part of an event. No. Is it a single specific location? So this is about where the volunteer needs to turn up. Now, if it was a library, then I'm guessing the opportunities are also going to be at the library, in which case I can just select use provider's address. Okay. If it was a different location, I knew exactly where it was, but it wasn't the library, then I could say single specific location and put in the address details for there and move the person around on the map as well. If it's in the middle of a park, I could get it nearby and just drag the marker into the middle of the park where it is, and that will be reflected on the volunteer side when they're seeing where it is. We've also got these two in the middle. Volunteer or virtual from home, that's anything kind of computer-based, social media, that kind of thing. Usually very popular. So have a think about if you have got any opportunities that you can do from home, especially in these times of COVID. And across an area with no specific location. So this might be, say if it was befriending the elderly, then you might say you don't want to put an exact location of the elderly person where the elderly person lives, obviously for 1,000 reasons, security being the main one. But the volunteer still needs to know roughly where it is, because that's going to dictate whether they can do the opportunity. So you can say across an area with no specific locations, okay, and you might zoom in on the map. It's where this person is. That's what's key. And you might say, okay, then essential sale. And say sale essential. Okay, and that will be reflected to the volunteer when they join the opportunity. Okay. Just leave that like that. Actually, let's just say it's use provider's address. Okay. Then we've got promoting options down here. Share the opportunity with a larger network you belong to. That's if we network systems together, and don't worry about that too much. Secret opportunity. So a secret opportunity is an opportunity that doesn't appear within the search results. So you might think, well, why on earth would I want to do that? The reason why you do that is because you might have an opportunity where you have 10 people in mind that you already work with, and you say, I want one of them to see it, but I don't want anyone else to know about it. So if you create a secret opportunity, initially, the only person who will know about it will be you as a provider, but then you can promote the opportunity, which I'll show you shortly, and promote it to specific volunteers, okay, which means only you then and those 10 volunteers you promoted it to are aware of the opportunity and can join it. We've got travel information here, 51 bus parking around the rear. Is there any expenses? You can put an expense information here. You can add files to the opportunity, like a health and safety form, for example. You can even re-upload them further down. I'll show you, like completed health and safety forms can be re-uploaded to the opportunity, which I'll show you in a minute. Then we've got selection options, so who can join the opportunity and how do they join it? The first question is a key one. Do volunteers need to apply first? So this is saying, is there an application process? So if you say no to this, it means that it's first come, first serve. So you might say litter picking, for example, well, I need 10 volunteers and it's first come, first serve. That's fine. That's great. No problem at all. Where you might say, well, a librarian, actually, I want to hand pick. I want to see who they are, speak to them, and I want to hand pick who is successful. If that makes sense. In which case, that will be an applying opportunity. And the way it deals with it differently is an applying opportunity. So changing this to yes makes it applying opportunity. An applying opportunity, essentially, it changes the buttons from join to apply. So the volunteer realizes straight away, okay, I'm applying for this. I'm not just joining it. Then it will tell them when they click on the apply button, thank you for applying. You'll be informed if you are successful. Okay, and that means that as a provider, you'll receive an email in the normal way saying somebody's applied for your opportunity. Then you better log in and you can see a list of their applicants there, and you can either approve or deny the applicants. As opposed to a joining opportunity, where you either said no, and on the joining opportunity, as I said before, they straight away they become volunteers. So once they click on that join button, they're on there and they will turn up on the day, even if they don't hear from you. Okay, so that's applying. As for experience when joining, so this is another box appears when the volunteer tries to join the opportunity, asking them to describe in a few words why they're suited to that particular opportunity. Then we've got restrict to provider-linked volunteers. What does this mean? Provider-linked volunteers. Well, administrators on the system can see every volunteer on the whole system, as you'd imagine. But you as a provider, you're restricted to only seeing volunteers who are linked to you. Okay, so how is a volunteer linked to me? Well, volunteers linked to you in 4 ways. Main way is if a volunteer ever joins any of your opportunities, then they're automatically linked to you. Whether it's current, future, or past opportunities, they're automatically linked to you. Okay. The second way is if you invite a volunteer onto the system, okay, which I'll show you shortly, then they register in the normal way, but in the background we automatically link them through to you. If a volunteer registers via your provider profile page, a page that showed you before, there's a register button on there. If they register via that page, then they're automatically linked to you. And the fourth way is as an admin, they can manually link a volunteer through to a provider. Okay, but that's less common. So the main way is that they join your opportunities. And when volunteers are linked to you, it means that you can see their main details and you can communicate with them, and you can even manually add them to your opportunities. So if you have volunteers you're working with now, you could invite them onto the system. The volunteers would register, and that means you'd be able to see their information straight away, and you could add them to your opportunities manually without them having to join it themselves if you wanted to, or send them emails, or lots of other things we can do within the system. Some great tools in here. Okay. Restrict to provider linked volunteers. So that's what a provider linked volunteer, that's the purpose of it. Okay, we're going to say no, keep it nice and basic. Then you've got some other ones: minimum age, maximum age, gender restrictions, upload files post opportunity, like your completed health and safety form, which I mentioned before. Okay. Add post opportunity survey links. You can add links into like SurveyMonkey or web or Google Forms, things like that. So when the volunteers join the opportunity, after they've turn up the first time, then it says, do you mind completing a survey? And they can complete that survey they want to. And then at the bottom here, we've got sessions and flexible. So everything up to this point has been describing what they're doing on the opportunity and defining who can actually join it, what restrictions are in place. Where this bit at the bottom is saying when you need to turn up, for how long. Now, if you know exactly when and for how long, you'd say it's a session based. So let me give you an example. If it was say you needed a librarian on every Tuesday and Wednesday for the whole year. Okay, we say, well, okay, that's session based. I know, and they're there for 2 hours, for say 5 hours every Wednesday and 5 hours every Tuesday, 5 hours every Wednesday for the whole year. That's session based because we know when they're turning up and for how long. Okay, and I'll put that in there like this. I'd say, well, it's a recurring session because it's recurring. It's every week, every Tuesday and Wednesday every week. There's a pattern to it. Okay, and I say, how many do I need? Well, I want 5 people to apply for it, or 5 people I need five volunteers to join it. Maximum of 5 every Tuesday or every Wednesday, every session. It starts today. And it goes on for Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and it starts at 11 o'clock for, what did I say, 5 hours? I said, didn't I? 5 hours every week, and it goes on for 12 months. So this is going to create Tuesday and Wednesday every week. So it's 2 times 52, 104 sessions. Okay, so it's going on for 12 months. And we can add this new opportunity. Before I do that, I'm going to explain what a flexible opportunity is, actually. I'm going to explain what an add sessions individually is. So the add sessions individually just allows you to create, you could do exactly the same thing. We could create all these sessions individually, but then we'd have to put in the dates manually. So it means there's no pattern to it, but you know exactly when they are. And you have to, obviously it takes a bit longer because you have to put the dates in one at a time for each session. But that might be the only way you can do it for certain opportunities. Like if I was creating an event that was happening this Saturday, just this Saturday and Sunday, well, that's not really recurring that small. I'm just going to say add sessions individually and put in the date of Saturday and Sunday, and that will create those 2 sessions. Flexible over here, this means that you don't know exactly when and for how long. So maybe it's a committee member on that library, for that library, for example, in which case you don't know when the committee meetings are. So or at this stage, you just know that you need volunteers. So you create a flexible opportunity. And when you do flexible, okay, you always ask for here, so let's say I need 5 volunteers, is a start date and an end date. So it starts today and it goes on for a year. It goes on for a year, put the end date in, and that's it. Okay. Now, obviously, the downside behind doing that way is you don't know, rather than with session-based, the volunteers not only join the opportunity there, but they say which sessions they can attend. I can do this Tuesday, I can do this Wednesday. I can't do the week after because I'm in Ibiza, wherever it is. Where the flexible one, they're joining the opportunity, but they haven't got the option of actually saying when they're going to turn up because you don't know. That's where you've made it flexible. In which case the volunteers will just log their hours as and when they go along. So a committee member for a library might be a flexible opportunity because you don't know when the committee meetings are. So once you tell them, oh, yeah, I've got a committee meeting this Thursday, they turn up for it and then they log the hours afterwards. Okay. But for this one, we're going to say it's session-based, and we're going to say it's every Tuesday, just every 12 months. Okay, so we created the opportunity. It says the opportunity is closed. Okay. Closed opportunity means an opportunity which no one can join at the moment. They can't join it because it's awaiting authorization from the administrator. This is where you have to wait for the admin to go and authorize you. Okay, refresh that, and this is going to go green, showing us that the opportunity is now open, which means volunteers can join it. So let's think what we've just done. All we've done is we've registered as a provider and we've created an opportunity. Okay, and then we've waited for the admin to authorize you as a provider. They'll probably give you a ring, in all honesty, and have a check who you are if they don't recognize your name. And then when you create the opportunity, they've gone on and authorized that opportunity as well, which is why it's open. So the next thing we need to do is you'd wait for a volunteer to obviously join the opportunity. Okay, I'm going to quickly kind of jump ahead and do that and show you exactly how the volunteers do that now. Okay, so for the volunteer side now, the volunteer is going to register. It might be useful for you to see this just to see what the volunteers do. Any special requirements here. So this is going to get shared with you. When the volunteers register in here, this information, if they're on your when they join your opportunities, you're going to see this information. So if they say they suffer from asthma or they suffer from epilepsy, then they can put that in here. And then it tells them how the data has been shared here, and they register. So once they've registered, they see librarian at the top here for Bob's library. Now, if they click on this here, it's going to show them your provider profile page. Okay, but if they click on the librarian or click on the details, it's going to take them to more information about this opportunity. Let's have a look. Remember, we've still got our volunteers hat on here, so they can see the information about the opportunity. Because they're logged into the system, they can see your phone number and your email address. They can even see where the opportunity is, and you might say, well, I want to drive there. So they drive, and it shows it's a long way away for them, Manchester to Coventry. They can see the route. They can even do it by bike or by walking routes if they want, if it's closer. If they like you as a librarian, I think, well, this Bob's Library, I think I like the kind of opportunities they offer. They could follow you, which means every time you add opportunities in future, they'll receive an email. Okay, and down the bottom here, we see all the different sessions. Is all the Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout the year. You might say, okay, then Mark, click on the first one. The system takes them through to the sessions page then, automatically listing them out in a bit of a clearer way, so you can see more of them. Okay, you say, I can do that Tuesday, I can do that Wednesday. It allows them to create a rota, essentially. But like I say, you may choose a flexible opportunity, which means you don't have to worry about this. You just want them to join, and you're going to talk to them on a one-to-one basis. You don't want them to say which sessions they can attend. You're just going to say, well, when are you available, and work it around them. That's fine. The way we've set this one up is we wanted a rota, wanted them to say exactly when they could turn up. Okay, that's why we've done this way. And they can leave them just as easy by double-clicking as well if they want to on there. Yep, so they joined some sessions here. Let's join one more. 4 sessions. That's great. Okay, so from the provider's perspective now, we've got a volunteer who's joined their opportunity. So let's look from the provider's perspective. Okay, refresh that page. When they go to volunteers on here, you can see that there's a volunteer on it, and you would have received an email. As soon as that volunteer joins the opportunity, you would have received an email saying that a volunteer has joined your opportunity. You need to log in and see their information. Okay, so let me take you through all these different options down the side here. So we're on the opportunities page here, the opportunity being a librarian. Okay, as I said, you can get to opportunities, down to opportunities there, and click on it, take you through to the same page. It says it's open, as I mentioned before, which means volunteers can join it. We know there's one volunteer on it. The only key ones here are hours logged, you might be interested in. So when it comes to logging of hours, both you log hours and the volunteer log hours. Okay, the one we care about is what you say. That's the one that's used to incentivize the volunteers in the system, and that's the one used for reporting, etc. So it's really important that you do log the hours after the volunteers have done their volunteering. You don't have to do it every day or every week or every month. You can leave it for a period of time and then go in and log all your outstanding hours quite quickly. We'll make it very simple for you. But it is important that you do log those hours, and volunteers can see if you haven't logged those hours, and you might find them phoning you up or dropping you an email saying, come on, I've done my bit. Please, can you log your hours? So yeah, we can also see below here how many volunteers have looked at the opportunity. 1 at the moment. So this is not how many have joined it, but how many have looked at it. Think about how important that would be. You can see if 20 people have looked at it, but no one's joined it, then that tells you something. It tells you that the title is interesting enough. It's getting enough interest for people to click in and look at it. But there's something in the main, once they've opened up the opportunity, there's something there that's putting them off. Okay, where if nobody looked at it at all, then you'd say it's probably the title of the opportunity. It obviously didn't sound very interesting. So this graph can give you some really valuable information. Okay, when we go down to volunteers here, we can see all the volunteers who've ever been on the opportunity, regardless of which session they've joined. Okay, I can select them here if I wanted to, and I can communicate with them, drop them an email straight away, select multiple ones if I want, select them all if I want to, drop them an email, put them in groups. You can create groups, which I'll tell you about shortly. We can also see on this volunteer, it's red there, which means that there is an accessibility, there's something to do with that they need you to be aware of, for example, epilepsy. Also that particular volunteer. And I could click on their name and that'll take me through to the volunteers. Okay, so we've got volunteers on here. We see the list of volunteers. We've also got sessions. So we can see the list of all the sessions on here and who's got one person on that session there, one person on that one there. Okay. Nobody on these ones here, one person on that one there. I can see who they are. And I can manually, I could change the time of a session here. So I'm going to change this one into the past. Okay, make this into maybe the 27th, maybe what date are we on now? So the 20th. Okay, let's save that. By changing the session time, the system's very clever. It knows that you need to tell those volunteers that you've changed that session. So it will automatically email any volunteers on that session and tell them, oh, by the way, it's changed now. The date or the time has changed. It was this, now it's this. So whenever the system can help you out and kind of do that logistics for you, it will. Okay. So you can change the session times and dates there. You can add a new session in here if you want to. If you want to add many sessions in, another year's worth of sessions, you can do that. You can manually add volunteers onto a session. Okay. So we've got the opportunity here called librarian. We've got all these sessions. If I want to manually add a volunteer into this session here, I can click on the plus button, start typing the name. We call him Bob, didn't I? There we go. Bob's volunteer. Add them in there. Now I've added them into this one here, I think it was. There you go. He added to one Bob was already on before. So Bob's in all of them now. Okay. You can email every volunteer on a particular session. So if I wanted to email every volunteer on the whole opportunity, I'd go to the volunteers tab that we went to before and I'd select all and I'd click on email. If I want to advertise people who are turning up for a particular day, then I would go onto the sessions page. Okay. Then I'll click on the email button and that's emailing every volunteer who's turning up for this session here. Okay. We've also got, obviously you want to remove a session, you click on the cross there. We've got login hours. Now because I moved a session into the past, okay, it's not going to allow me to log sessions normally because it would say, well, you can't log any sessions because they're all in the future. But remember, I edited one of them here and I moved it into the past. Okay, so now this one's in the past, which means it will let me log hours, which is why I did it. Sounds like I've done this before, isn't it? So I click on log hours. It says, okay, then while Bob's volunteer, he was on a session that happened last week. I give him a thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, if you give a thumbs down, it emails it to the administrator. The administrator will be able to deal with it diplomatically. You have to remember, volunteers are doing the same for you. So they are going to log hours and it's going to ask them to leave feedback. When I say feedback, it's nearly always a thank you message. Okay, so like, thanks, couldn't have done it without you. Something like that. Okay. And the feedback is shared against your opportunities as well. So what the feedback that volunteers leave against you sits there, like TripAdvisor, it sits there against the opportunity for other volunteers to read. Okay, if it's a thumbs up feedback, if it's thumbs down, again, it just gets emailed to the admin, and they'll probably be phoning you up if there's any issues. The kind of issues we see is like 98% of it is thank you messages. For that 2%, sometimes there is an issue, and it tends to be like the volunteers turned up and no one's greeted them, you know, or no one was aware, for whatever reason, was aware that they meant to that they were turning up. So that's the kind of things that we tend to see. But nearly always these are just thank you messages. So I save that. Then it lets me, only after I left that feedback, it's going to let me log the hours. So it says, okay, then. Well, it knows that I've only one session has passed and it's 5 hours long, that session. So I could just log maximum hours. It says, well, there's only one, okay, one session's passed 5 hours, so it's going to log 5 hours for me. If it was like 3 months have passed, so I'd had lots of sessions that have gone into the past that volunteers are on, then I again could click on log maximum hours, and it would assume that everyone's turned up for all those sessions and log all their hours for you. Okay? But if you thought, well, actually, no, it was a couple of weeks they didn't turn up, I could click on the log at individual sessions, and then I could specify these sessions they turned up for, this one they didn't. Okay. If you've got lots of volunteers, you can use that bulk feedback option as well, which kind of logs the maximum for all volunteers and leaves the saved feedback for all volunteers. So if you've got loads of volunteers in the opportunity, you might be inclined to use that. But these here, we've got details, location. This is all the stuff you entered when you created the opportunity. Okay, restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Downloadable documents, like a health and safety form. Uploaded documents, like a completed health and safety form. You can download the volunteers' information to a CSV file, which is Excel essentially, which lets you see it all in an Excel file, who's turning up and when they're turning up. You can see feedback that volunteers have left. I need to refresh this so you'd see the feedback. And you can promote as well if you wanted to, which, like I said before about the secret opportunity, where I said no one knows about it unless you promote it. This is what you can go to promote here, and you can invite volunteers via email, or you can just send that link to any volunteer, and then suddenly you're not the only person who knows that opportunity exists. Because anyone who goes to this address here, this link here, is going to bring up this opportunity. Okay, so that they can then go on to join it. Okay, so that's promoting there. Okay, which are the ones that we have here? Convert and copy. So don't worry about convert. Copy is if you want to copy an opportunity, so quite often you might have an opportunity, you say, well, actually, this one is exactly the same as the one I created last month. We had a librarian last month. Well, I could copy the opportunity, which means I've got 2 identical opportunities, and then I might change a location and say, yeah, but this one's in this other library down the road. Okay, so it's a quick way of creating opportunities. If it's very similar to something you've already created, copy it and then just make the change in the copy and then save it, and then you've got two slightly different opportunities then. And we've obviously got delete. So if you're deleting an opportunity, it means that it never should have been created. Okay, if an opportunity has kind of gone into the past and it's, you don't need a librarian anymore, then you don't need to delete it. The system will automatically close the opportunity and stop any more volunteers joining it. It won't just sit on there forever. It knows where the end dates are. It knows when all the sessions have passed. It says, well, okay, then, well, there's nothing for volunteers to join now because all the sessions are in the past. So it will automatically close it. Okay, so deleting is only if you've made it by mistake and it never should have been on there. That's the only reason you should use that. Okay. The next thing is, okay, so what have we done? Let's go again. We've registered as a provider, created an opportunity. I then showed you a volunteer registering and joining that opportunity. And now I've shown you how you can manage that opportunity. Now I'll show you how you can manage that opportunity through the options here. You can always get to your opportunities by going to opportunities, down to there. It's going to list your opportunities here. And you simply just click on the name of it or click on the manage button at the end. This here will show you how many volunteers are on it, how many applicants, if it's an applying opportunity, how many hours the volunteers logged and how many hours you've logged. Okay, just click on the name. It'll take you through to the opportunity itself. Okay, so we go to manage volunteers. So next we're going to show you how to communicate with volunteers. So we know if we want to communicate with every volunteer on an opportunity, I showed you, click on volunteers here, select all, then click on email. That's going to send the email out to those volunteers. If you want to email every volunteer on a session, you click on sessions, and then you click on the email button on the session. It's going to email every volunteer on that particular session. Okay. If you want to choose which volunteers, and you click on the search volunteers page, it's going to show you every volunteer that you're associated with, you're linked to you, essentially. Okay, so here I can see a volunteer and I can click on their name, and again I can email them, change the status, change the group they're in, and link them from me if I want to. Okay, so that is a way of another way of kind of manually selecting volunteers and sending the communication out. You can also see, so this is all your volunteers who are linked to you in them 4 ways I mentioned before. You can also search using lots of different kind of filters here. Say, show me every volunteer from a particular area or postcode or age, or every volunteer who's, who's a part of this group, a volunteer group that I've created, and this, that, and the other through these filter options. Okay. So I've mentioned volunteer groups a few times now, so I'm going to take you through what they are. So if you go down to manage volunteers groups, you can create a volunteer group, and I'm going to name one called minibus drivers. Okay. Maybe I've got 5 people who can drive the library minibus, for example. Okay. And I use this because I might want to communicate with them quite frequently, just those 5 volunteers. Okay. Or maybe I want to restrict an opportunity just to those 5 volunteers because I know I've seen their driving licenses. So to do that, I need to put them in a group first of all. So we've created the group here. Okay, so the next thing I can do is go down to put the volunteers in that group. Let's go down to search volunteers, click on the volunteer, and then change group. So select group to add to, minibus drivers add. Now that volunteer's in that group. We'll never want to find that group of volunteers again. I can just click on the filter down here and go down to group member, add here. Then I can see which groups I've got in the drop down, click on search, and it's going to bring up any volunteers in that group. When I'm creating an opportunity, I can restrict it to just those volunteers as well. So when you create the opportunity, you go down here and you get to where it says, selection options, restrict to your volunteer group, minibus drivers. Even tells me how many volunteers are in that group there, which means only that volunteer will be able to get on this opportunity if I carried on to create it. Okay, so next thing we've got inviting volunteers. So when you go down to invite volunteers here, okay, I can, now this works really well in terms of if you're dealing with a load of volunteers already, then just invite them onto the system. They will register in the normal way, and like I say, in the background, it will automatically link them to you, which means you'll be able to see them in the search volunteers page as soon as they've registered. But also, it will let you see whether they've actually gone to register. I put in a weird email address here and click on invite. Now, under the invited volunteers, I can see it's there. Okay, I can see when I invited them, and I can see that they have not gone on to register, hence the red cross there. Okay, so this is the way that you want to invite people you know, your volunteers have volunteered with you for a while. This is the way you want to invite them onto the system. Okay, also got a log all hours feature, which is the fast way of logging outstanding hours. What else we got? Events. I haven't mentioned events yet. So events, as I said, are like a group of opportunities that has something in common. So if I click on the events option here, I can add an event, say it's my event. Event, just a group of opportunities, nothing more complicated than that. This is the events page, the unique web page, which shows just information about that particular event. Like you have your provider's profile page, you also, which is a unique page just about you as a provider and your opportunities. The events page is just about the event and opportunities on the event. Exactly the same thing. So add new event, and it will say, was there an image for this event? The next thing it's going to ask me. Yeah, there is. Add a new image. Choose the image here. Okay, not the other images here. Let's choose something. There you go, that's a nice one. Once that uploads, okay, we've now got an image with it. I save the image. Make sure you save the image. You can move it around as well and zoom in and zoom out and this, that, and the other. I can put in information here about the event. Okay, make sure you save it afterwards. But what we haven't got on this event is there's no opportunities linked to it yet. So normally you would go, the next step once you've created the event, you go on to create the opportunities. And when you go down to create the opportunity, you get to the bit where it says, is it part of a larger event? Here. And you'd say, yes, it is. Then it'd say, which event is it? And you'd say, oh, it's called my event. That's what I just called it. And then it automatically going to link it through to the event. We're doing it a bit backwards here. We've created the opportunity first, then the event second, which is a bit strange, but that's just the best way for training, I think, purposes to do it that way. So if I go back into what that opportunity we created, librarian, and I'm going to manually link it through to the event. So click on this is the opportunity called librarian. I go down to details, okay, and you get to the bit where it says part of a larger event, and I say, yes, it is. So which event is it? It's called my event. That's great. I click on the save button. Okay, now it's linked through to that event, which means if I go to the, so it means if I go to the event now, there it is, my event, okay, and I click on the, click on the link, which will open it up, seeing what the volunteers see. So we've got the image, we've got some information about it, and down here we've got the opportunity linked to that particular event. Okay. We've also got lots of reports, so you're interested in this, reports on your volunteers and your opportunities. Okay, basic KPIs here, how many volunteers the system are linked to you, how many converted, and this, that, and the other. Your volunteer cohorts, these are volunteers who are linked to you again. Okay, not every volunteer on the whole Make Your Mark system, just volunteers who are linked to you. It shows the kind of demographics and how they're made up. Opportunities, information here, what categories they're in, and this, that, and the other. So yeah, very useful. So very useful tools for you in there. Again, you've got your accounts here with your public profile page, okay, which we saw before. And then you've got your organizational details, which is everything you entered when you registered as a provider. And then you've got your email logs here, which shows you haven't sent any yet, what emails you've sent to volunteers and etc. There is lots and lots and lots of help in the system. Okay, if you ever get stuck with anything, one of the best things you should do first of all is click on the question mark in the top right. It's very clever, the help in TeamKinetic, is when you click on it, it shows you the help related to the page you're looking on. So it's creating your first opportunity there. I even got videos here, which are going to load up in a second. And I can click on the video and it will take me through how to create the first opportunity. So it's showing me help here related to the page I'm looking at. Or I could type something into the search bar if I wanted to as well. If you still can't get any help that way, then you want to speak to the administrator first of all and ask for some help of the administrator. There is tutorial videos in here, okay, you can have a look at on pretty much everything and anything in the system, which are useful. There's also extra resources that might be available to you. The admins haven't added any on, but I know for a fact that they will be adding some resources in here specific to Make Your Mark, which they think that you might find useful. And then the only page we haven't covered is the first page that opens up when you log in, which is called the provider's dashboard. So this is the first page you're going to see. And this basically shows you everything which we think is going to be key information. Okay, so what opportunities are waiting to be authorized, what volunteers have logged out, what emails have been sent, and this, that, and the other on there. What open opportunities you've got at the moment, librarian. So yeah, so hopefully that's useful to you. Now, a lot of information there, kind of reeled off. I don't expect you to remember all of it, but I do expect you to kind of understand what an opportunity is, and the fact that opportunities have one or more sessions. It's quite a key thing. The fact that you can't see every volunteer on the whole system, you can just see volunteers who are linked to you. Remember in those 4 ways that they can be linked to you. And that's about it really. What I would suggest that after viewing this video is you don't leave any time, get straight in there, register as you want to register as a provider. Okay, you want to create your profile page and start adding some opportunities, then invite volunteers onto the system. Okay, now there might be a little bit of a break there. Usually going to register as a provider first and then wait to be authorized by the admin. But that's the order you want to do them in. Registering, create opportunities, create your profile page, create opportunities, and then finally invite volunteers onto the system via the invite function there. So I hope you found that useful. Yeah, and have a lovely day. Thanks.